Dāmas un kungi, man ir liels prieks, ka esat atgriezušies uz mūsu noslēdzošo paneļu diskusiju, jo bez to drīzāk nosauku kā tādu apkopojumu par šodienas dzirdēto, par šodienas tēmām. Tā kā viens no mūsu paneļa diskusijas dalībniekiem ir ārzemnieks, tāpēc mēs pārslēgsimies tūlīt uz angļu valodu. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy that you are with us still this afternoon. I think that this nice discussion that we had today needs a good summary. So, and I will ask the minister first to sum it up. But just before that, I will announce who are the members of this panel. So, the Minister of Environmental Protection and Regional Development, Artūrs Toms Plešs, is here, and Evija Šturca, KPMG partner in Latvia. And remotely with us today, Ingmārs Pūķis, the VP of Marketing and Business Development, and also a member of the Management Board for LMT, and Dr. Volker Wittpahl, Managing Director of Institute for Innovation and Technology based in Berlin. Welcome, gentlemen. Yeah, you hear us, you see us. That's very good. So, final words for this, maybe for the presentations that you heard today, and also maybe to sum it up, the process of digital transition in Latvia, how it looks.
I have to say that overall, the presentations and discussions that we had throughout the day really gave us a really good insight where we are at the moment, what are maybe the problems that need to be solved and tackled, and what are the opportunities that, if used, can actually bring prosperity, not only for Latvia, but also on a global scale. And therefore, digital transformation in this sense plays a crucial role. And from the government side, we are putting a lot of effort to also, together with the private sector, public and private sector, bring all the initiatives, all the necessary stakeholders at the same table to really think how can we use the technological development, the technologies that are now in the place and will be in the place in the future for our advantage. How can we make our economy greener? How can we make our economy more productive? And I think also in those presentations throughout the day, it was really well noted that, first of all, I have to say that from technological perspective, Latvia has a really good advantage, I have to say, and a starting point, because, for example, 4G coverage is almost 100% all across Latvia, and various other technological perspectives that we can see in various indicators. But most important thing, besides the technologies and hardware, so to say, is how can we invest in people wisely? How can we train them to have these digital skills? How can we make people, how can we equip people with the digital skills that are needed in 21st century in these also uncertain times? And therefore, I think there's going to be a huge challenge for us to really bring to each and every one these opportunities and possibilities. But as we see, as we are planning the policy in various investments in various ministries and in various public authorities, I think we are on a great track to really make this digital transformation happen here in Latvia.
Well, thank you for these notes. Well, basically, we also have a question for our viewers, and we want to know who should lead the process of digital transformation in Latvia, and also there we have also the second question, which you will see later on the screen. Please give your opinion to us, and we will show it and discuss it during the panel, of course. My next question is to Ingmārs, and the question is about the experiments in the public sector. And of course, we heard during the day that Swedish tax authorities have made a very brave decision and transformed their thinking. Is that something that we can do also in Latvia, in our situation? How do you look at that?
Well, in Latvia, we can do almost everything. I think one of the obvious benefits of being a small country is that the distance between the between the government, between the private companies and the public in general, the distance is very short. So it largely depends on the will. Is there some will to actually trial something? So we can do many things, but in terms of innovation and digital transformation, I think as it goes, innovation by itself is probably not the objective. Normally, innovation has to have some purpose or some rational need. What are you doing? What do you want to achieve? Because these days we sometimes see that this kind of a technological fetish that people, particularly in my industry of ICT, they just like new stuff. They don't really care about the customer. So be it in the private sector or be it in the government in general, somewhere down the line there is the customer, which technically drives the reason why you do stuff. So keeping this customer focus in mind is probably essential. But the other part is, of course, sometimes our challenge is that we are trying to be too orderly. And people, particularly in the government sector, I have noticed they have these fantasies about that they should do things that are planned, and you have to have a long-term plan, and you should probably not deviate from that plan. And most essentially, and the most fundamental problem is, how do you decide what to do? And this is the most painful place, because somehow there is this perception that you somehow, I don't know, is it given from, I don't know where, but somehow you have the idea what to do. And probably the most interesting projects I've seen lately together with the government, where the projects where all the parties are able to spend some time without clear objective, just to discussing what might the objective be. And this is the very, very valuable output of of this step zero, when you spend some time and resource to actually identify what will you do. Because when you know what you have to achieve, then it's somehow, I would say, simpler. And many problems arise because the objective is wrong. So I think for us, we have to a little bit let it go and be ready to just spend some time without clearly defined objective, to actually talk with each other, talk between industry, talk between government, and trying to invest into identifying the objective. Thank you.
Yeah, Ingmārs, you mentioned that a few obstacles that are usually, when it comes to innovation, how public sector looks at that. But from my side, I have heard also these three words, state audit office. And we need to be aligned to some forms and regulations so that we cannot overstep and overachieve something that everything should be in the box. How we can get the leap out of that?
Well, probably, I mean, state audit is a necessary thing, and we have to have one. That's perfectly fine. And what do? They normally check, does your activities more or less align to your intention? So have we ever, like, for instance, just recently we had a very long discussion with the government. Can state-owned enterprises define their mission or targets as raising value, or can they invest in innovation? And there have been many activities trying to suppress the operations of state-owned enterprises. And actually, so now there's a first document, and there's written and mentioned there's a government intention that yes, state-owned enterprises can be involved in innovation process. So that's a pretty new thing. And so sometimes of course, it's very easy always to blame state audit for everything, but it's quite often the question, is your house actually in order? So, because sometimes you want to mix things which are not mixable, in my mind.
That is a very good point. Thank you, Ingmārs, for that. Now we have the question about who should lead the process of digital transformation in Latvia, and who should be the owner of all the processes. Evija, what do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering what the options are for.
Oh yeah, we can look maybe on the screen. Do we have some results that we can show on the screen? What our viewers and listeners are.
Well, we
can
are
we
getting.
See it? Okay, but you can answer it.
Yes, well, we are getting to the answers. I think we all understand that digital transformation is a very complex matter, and this is why really the leadership is required to be at the top level of companies, where the top management need to be ready to commit both financial resources for investments in technologies and also training, and also that leaders need to be, the top management need to be ready to invest in human resources. For example, in leaders being available for developing digital transformation strategy, and also for communicating the importance of digital transformation to all employees, and to encouraging everyone to train, to really upskill everyone in terms of digital area. And I think besides the top tone at the top, management also needs to appoint a clear leader at the highest management level, a leader who has the authority to implement the digital transformation, to work across the functions, to work closely cooperating with the heads of functions of the company, so that the digital transformation is actually implemented throughout companies. And public sector is no different from companies. We also need a leader at the highest level of governance structure of the public sector.
Yes. The question for both of you, plan or vision for digital transition? What should come first, and what should be, I would say, the criteria, the main criteria for leading the digital transformation?
I have to say both, and I have to agree what also Ingmārs said, that in this actually really uncertain area, and sometimes also uncertain times, so to say, it's really important to have these discussions on place. What our aims, what our goals, and what our targets are in, I don't know, in upcoming decade, in upcoming 7 years. Therefore, I have to say, I think from our ministry perspective, we managed to actually do a lot of work in designing a digital transformation strategy. Well, actually, we had really broad discussions with businesses from many areas to actually formulate what is our vision, what are our targets in many areas. Therefore, I think that we have so far done our homework in also designing this document and plan in a new way, like it wasn't done before. And we see that, for example, we need to invest in digital skills, that we can really go up in how people are equipped with basic digital skills. We see it as a problem. In many other areas, as is investing in business transformation from digital perspective, also investing in infrastructure, because I mentioned that we are maybe good at the moment, and infrastructure and hardware is good as a good starting point. But we see that a lot of countries are moving forward on a so fast pace that we can't sit in the back seat. We also have to run actually together with them to keep also our competitiveness at a really high level. So therefore, I think that together with private sector, this digital transformation strategy was some kind of a new perspective. The document is formed that will help us also align our work with the goals that we have in place.
All right.
Yes, I want to say that besides the vision and the plan, there needs to be ambition to be leaders in digital transformation. And besides that, I think we also need to revert to this ownership aspect. It needs to be part of the plan, but there also needs to be a very practical ownership and authority for somebody to implement it throughout the public sector.
And now let's see what are the results of the question. So they won't appear on the screen, so I will just read them. So who should undertake to direct lead digital transformation in Latvia? And 30% of people say that this is the government. The government should show the leading. The 31%, just 1% up, is IT companies. Then we have 23% who said every member of the public, so everyone can can actually do something for this digital transformation. And then there are a few answers. 8% say industry organizations and also education bodies. No one says media. So we are saying no media should be the undertake the leading position in this. So government, IT companies, and every member of the public is basically the answer. All right, we are moving also to the next question for our viewers. And the next question is, how should we use the digital technologies and how should the use of digital technologies be encouraged? So this is something that we talked in the last part of our presentations, where we talked about the learning and about the skills. So in this case, I'm very happy to ask the next question to Mr. Whitpau. So technologies are developing very rapidly, as we see, and also we witness today, and we need to keep somehow the track of all of this. How can we encourage continual acquisition of the knowledge? So, what would be your advice?
Well, thank you very much for having me. And regarding your question, there is no one-fits-all solution. You have to go many ways. The most important issue to get an awareness is not only the implementation of the, let's call it, education of the society. It's more a general change of understanding that is needed. I like to compare with the health issue. We all know that fast food as well as smoking stands for modern, for comfort, and so on. But we have nowadays a general awareness that these habits will have on a midterm and a long-term a harmful impact. Well, if you use it sometimes, if you consume it sometimes, it's fine, but you have an awareness of the consequences. And we still miss this kind of awareness of consequences if we use digital services, digital infrastructures, and so on. And this is all over the society, from the, let's say, simple workers, older people, up to the decision makers. My experience is, even if you talk to decision makers regarding data privacy issues or cybersecurity issues, it's a mess. So from this point of view, first let us grow together in terms of a general awareness of the understanding of digital infrastructure, digital service, and so on. So if we are not able to assess the, let's say, benefit of digital services and digital infrastructures without also having in mind the midterm and long-term consequences in terms of maintenance, in terms of cost, in terms of risk, but we should be very careful with the things that we do. But this doesn't mean that we don't have to use digitalization. It only means we have to be careful as long as we have not a full understanding. That's my statement.
Yes, so we can compare this somehow to like a climate change. There also we don't see really the consequences at this moment. Most probably this is the same as with the digital transformation, isn't it?
Yes, but the climate change is even worse because the consequences are in 1 or 2 generations from you. Here we have the thing that sometimes you are somehow also hurt already by the use of digital infrastructure. For instance, if your identity is stolen, or if you are somehow discriminated due to your data that somebody has collected, either on insurances that give you a higher rate, or that you are not getting the best prices online and stuff like that. So these are consequences that most of the people are not aware of. And this is on an individual level. We are not talking about company risks now.
Yes. Thank you very much for the opinion. If we look at the maybe 2 or 3 years from now, what should Latvia at this moment in the digital transformation transition should look like in 2 or 3 years? Do you have that vision?
That's actually a really tough question to answer because I think that this intersection between public and private sector will play a crucial role, what kind of services and what kind of technologies we develop. I think that in upcoming years, and I think it's gonna happen in 2 or 3 years, there's gonna be a huge switch and huge transformation towards virtual and augmented reality. I think recently we saw this largest social network announcement that they want to really heavily invest in this area. I think we have to understand that this is here to stay. And from that perspective, I think from the public sector perspective, we can't lag behind, but we also clearly understand that resources, money, sometimes also intellectual capital is basically it's located there where there are strong financial, so to say, incentives, and it's usually in the private sector. Therefore, I think it's also important for us that we can invest also in people, in public sector, pay adequate wages, that we really, that people who are designing these policies, that actually they understand what we are doing and what in short term actually what's going to happen, not only in Latvia, but overall globally. Therefore, I have to say that, like I said before, it's crucial that we invest in digital skills. And I think it's also touched upon but what the previous speakers say on various issues. How can we understand the digital field as such? How can we navigate various services? It's important that people have these basic set of tools because digital is here to stay.
Well, thank you. So we have the last results in on our question, our poll. So the question was, how should the use of digital technologies be encouraged? And what I can say is that 29% think that by encouraging the public to develop their digital skills, and also 29% say informing the public about digital capabilities. But the majority, 42%, are saying by educating employees. So that's the voice of our people. So what can I say? I think that this was a very fruitful afternoon where we discussed and we heard opinions, we heard case studies, and I want to say thank you to each and every participant of this panel and also in our presentations. And I think Latvia should go level up from here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Reizēm pietiek ar dažiem klikšķiem, lai paveiktu ko svarīgu. Tāpēc mēs darām visu, lai tev izdotos vēl vienkāršāk. Latvijas valsts e-pakalpojumi ir pieejami tiešsaistē, lai ietaupītu tavu laiku nozīmīgākām lietām. Arī tu vari atvieglot savas ikdienas situācijas un nokļūt nākamajā līmenī ar mana.latvija.lv. Uzzini vairāk par valsts piedāvātajiem e-pakalpojumiem. mana.latvija.lv.